What's up, everybody? Welcome to GameFreak. Today, I am going to talk about different console controllers and stuff. I noticed I was actually talking to one of my friends, who's a fellow content creator, Ballistic Coffee Boy (BCB). If you're not friends with him, go check his page out. You want to learn anything about Atari? That's the guy to talk to. That guy is like an encyclopedia of Atari. So go check him out. But we started talking because on the last Retro Hour show that I had, I picked out River Raid and I was playing that. And I haven't really played the Atari in a long time. I do have it hooked up and stuff. But I did notice that the controls, the joystick is just tiny. And I'm not a small guy, I'm 6'3", and my hands were just eating this joystick up. And I'm really hoping that the Atari Game Station, I hope them joysticks are a little bit bigger because, we're not kids anymore. And I think a lot of people my age are going to be the ones that buy this, I guess, console, if you want to say it. It's really an emulation system, but whatever. So I'm going to go through all the controllers of the systems that I have hooked up. I'm not going to go through like all my systems, just the ones that I have hooked up. And I'm going to go through these controllers and I guess kind of rate them, if that's the right word. Now don't be offended if it's happens to be a console you like. I'm not ripping on the console. I'm ripping on the controllers. Not ripping on anyone that likes the console and nothing like that. It's just the controllers. That's all we're talking about. So, let's just start out right off the bat. And sorry, my chair is just like super squeaky. So, we're going to start out. I got all the controllers sitting on the ground. So, with the Atari, I mean, it's tiny. This thing is tiny. I remember I used to like hold this like this when I was little. I can't do that anymore. And as you can see, it eats away in my hand. I mean, it just disappears. I love the Atari, but I do wish that the controller was bigger. That's really the main reason why I don't play Atari much anymore, is just because I can't get a good feel on this like I used to. I used to love this thing as a kid, and I'm really hoping that Game Station, fixes that or resolves that problem. So yeah, Atari, yeah, not a good controller, not a good joystick. I don't like it. I liked it in the 80s, but I was much smaller then, so no on this. We're going to move on to the next controller, and that is the original NES. Now, this was great also in the 80s, but again, tiny. It's super tiny. And I noticed a big difference actually when the Nintendo was like the console at the time. Like the older I got, when it was pushing almost 1990 and stuff, and they were still making Nintendo games and stuff, I was growing, and these controllers were getting smaller. So, yeah, I wouldn't rate this controller too well either. I wish they made a big boy Nintendo controller, maybe just the same design and everything, but just bigger. I mean, that would be cool. I'd be all right with that. But yeah, when it comes to going back and playing retro games, Nintendo, just like the Atari joystick, not a good controller. You can get third party. I used to have an NES Max, and that was pretty cool at the time, but even that's tiny now. So that's 2 no's, like right off the bat. Now, when the 90s came around, that is when this system came out. And I thought we were onto something here. Sega Genesis. A lot bigger. lot more hand room. This was actually a good, comfortable controller, and it still holds up. It's still a comfy controller today. Like when I'm playing my Sega Genesis, my hands aren't cramping from being all squished on whatever kind of controller. This is just a damn good controller, and it's been through hell, man. I beat the shit out of this thing because, playing Golden Axe and everything when I was younger. This is still the OG, man. This came with my system. Still working good. I think my other one's down there too. But yeah, I'd never had to buy another controller. These things pretty badass. So this was a really good controller. So props to Sega. Now the next one, I'm just grabbing this one. Like when PlayStation came out, the PS1 was a little bit different than the PS2 and PS3 until the PS1. Obviously that came first, but when they ended up putting analog sticks on their controllers, at first it didn't have analogs, and then they made the Dual Shock and everything. So basically after that, the PS2 and the PS3 and the PS1 with the Dual Shock and everything, they were pretty much all the same controllers. Now, it's right there. It is rather tiny. I remember I used to play the shit out of God of War. I still play the shit out of God of Wars. And I'm not gonna lie, I love Sony and stuff, but you kind of get cramped because it isn't that big of a controller. Now it's not as small as like the Nintendo and stuff like that, but man, eventually Sony got it right. This wasn't bad. I would say this is a pretty average controller. It's not horrible. I've definitely just showed I've played worse, but yeah, the PS3 controller, PS1, PS2, not bad at all. The next controller on the list. Alright. Some people might get mad at this one. The Xbox controller. I think, and I'm not ripping on anybody that is fans of Xbox or love the Xbox, whatever. This is one of the most garbage controllers I've ever played on. I cannot stand the layout of this. Some people like it. I should like it because I have big hands and they're kind of clumpy, these controllers are, so it gives my hands a little more room, but I absolutely hate the feel. I can't stand where the analogs are located at all. The only reason that I have this hooked up is because my original Xbox is a emulator. I don't even play Xbox games on it. So when I do turn that thing on, the only thing I'm using is the D-pad and a couple buttons. Sometimes 3 because I do have some 32X games on there. But it's mostly Nintendo, Super Nintendo. In fact, I think there's 3 maybe for like some Nintendo 64. But this is probably like one of the worst controls. Like, this is garbage to me. So, yeah. Sorry. I mean, I just don't like it. So, anyway. Let's go to the next one. As we were talking about Sony, how the PS1 through 3, it was a little bit cramped and everything. This was so great. When the PS4 came out, they kind of widened the controller. And, man, this is comfortable. This is super comfortable. This is still one of my favorite controllers. It's not my favorite, but it is one of my favorites. Yeah, PS4 controller, you can't really go wrong on this. This was just a all around great controller. Again, all these controllers that I'm showing you, These are well, besides the Xbox, I had to reorder that controller. But most of these that I am showing, they're the originals that came with my systems that I've had since a kid. So this was a really good one. Whew. The next one, just the Wii, Nintendo Wii. This was just a unique controller. It was really cool for like bowling and I guess baseball if you played that stuff. I mean that was cool, but when you wanted to use it as like just a regular controller and you turned it sideways like for Mario and stuff on there, it absolutely sucked. So this one's kind of hard to rate. Um, yeah, it's unique. That's really all I can say about it. And uh, the only time this thing gets used, along with the other Wii controller, is when me and the wife play bowling. But that's really the only thing that we play on the Wii, and that's the only reason that it's hooked up. So yeah, unique controller. Um, uh, the next one, I would have to say this one is right up there with the original Xbox controller. This one's pretty much hot garbage too. Um, and this is the Nintendo Switch controller. This is what comes with it, and you put your Joy Cons in. Everyone knows that has a Switch, but for those that don't, this is what it looks like. Uh, this is horrible. In fact, I hate these Joy Cons. I did forget to grab something. Um, Let me grab it real quick. Okay, so in fact, I hate the Joy Cons so much that I just made a short about this not too long ago. I got the Split Pad Pros on here, and man, what a game changer! These things are just awesome. I mean, it feels good. It doesn't even feel like the Switch anymore. So I highly, highly recommend one of these. The Split Pad Pros. They make a world of difference. Just makes it a much better handheld, and that's really the only reason I have a Switch. I rarely hook it up to the TV to play. So yeah, I just I don't like these Joy Cons, and this is just awful. It's a fucking square, and it's uncomfortable, and it just sucks. So yeah, get the Split Pad Pro. A lot better. All right, so winding down. Yeah, I know. I got so much shit hooked up. Where am I? Oh, here we go. Next controller. Um, the evercade controller. Now, I was very skeptical when I got the evercade VS because when I pulled these controllers out of the box, they are super light. I mean, there's not much weight to them at all. However, I couldn't believe how comfortable they were. They're actually really comfortable, and they work great. I don't get any cramps in my hands or my fingers playing this. They're laid out really nice. So this one shocked me. They're not perfect, so I'm not gonna say they're like terrific or anything, but they are really, really good controllers. I was shocked. So yeah, these aren't bad at all. So Evercade is right up there. And now the last console that I have hooked up, and it's by far the best controller that I have ever used, and that is the PS5 controller. These DualSense controllers are amazing. They're comfortable. Uh, Never get cramped up. They're never not comfortable. They're just amazing controllers, like all the way around. I mean, this controller made the front page of I think what Time magazine or something. They're just that good. So kudos to Sony when they came up with this design. This is by far the best controller I have ever played on. In fact, I was skeptical on this when the PS5 came out because I thought it looked an awful lot like a Xbox controller. But the saving grace on this is right here's where the analogs are. They're not all cockeyed and shit like the Xbox. And you know what? If Xbox just moved them analogs on, I probably would love the Xbox controllers because they do have some width and stuff to them. But this, by far, is the best controller that I have ever used. So let me know what you guys think. What's your favorite controller on what console and stuff? Like I said, I'm not ripping on any console that I dog the controllers on. This is all about the controllers. I need bigger controllers because I'm a bigger guy. So what's your favorite controller to play on or console? I'd love to hear it in the comments section. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Really helps out the channel, and it's greatly appreciated. And until the next video, game on!